Hi everyone, my name's Alana. Welcome back to my YouTube channel, Mental Health with Alana. If you're new here, press that red subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up. Here on this channel, I post all videos based off mental health content, my own experience, and just different topics. So if you'd like to see anything in particular, you can comment that down below. For this week's video, I'm going to be talking about misdiagnosis with disorders when you have mental illness, and maybe you're a person who is starting to experience symptoms of mental illness. I think a lot of my videos I talk about once you've already been diagnosed and once you've already been living with a disorder maybe for a while. But I wanted to make a video for people who are maybe still trying to figure out what is actually going on or still trying to get assessed. Maybe you're suspecting of it, that you think you have a certain disorder, but you don't know, and there can be so many reasons why people can't get access to assessments and mental health treatment. But I just want to talk about my experience and some things that have come up and maybe some barriers and things that get in the way, and just a little bit of advice on different things that I've done and experienced. So for this video, I'm mainly going to be talking in relation to bipolar disorder because this is going to be used as an example. When you start experiencing mental health symptoms, I think when it comes to disorders that are like schizophrenia, bipolar, the ones in like the bipolar spectrum, schizophrenia, schizoaffective, things that are like dissociative identity disorder, those type of disorders that are very like complex. These disorders can often mimic other disorders, or symptoms can overlap in a lot of areas. Like BPD and bipolar often get, diagnosed when you have the other one, and people who have DID often will get diagnosed with schizophrenia. So there's a lot of misdiagnosis that goes on, and this is not on the professionals. Like, obviously, professionals do need to be making sure that they really look into stuff, but I think that it is actually very hard coming from a professional perspective. Like, they would, it is quite hard to differentiate sometimes. Not everyone is going to have the same symptoms as well. A lot of these disorders that are kind of more complex and a bit more harder to diagnose, they have a lot of parts to them, and I think that's why it can be so complex and confusing. And when you're starting to experience mental health symptoms, sometimes the full disorder has not manifested yet. I think this is what often happens, is that people start experiencing symptoms, and there's like a common kind of misconception, I suppose, that I think people think that one day someone would just wake up and they're manic, full-blown mania, like requiring hospitalization out of the blue, and they have bipolar. Or wake up one day and they just experience all these delusions and start believing in delusions and have all these symptoms, and suddenly they have schizophrenia or something. I'm just using this as an example because schizophrenia is a little bit similar to bipolar in some aspects, so that's why I'm using that. But things like depression, for instance, is often a more persistent kind of thing. People often have had it since they were like 12, maybe even younger. It can be very like lingering. It's pretty simple to diagnose. It doesn't have that many different criteria it has to meet. When I was finally diagnosed with bipolar, I was originally diagnosed with depression, because what happens a lot of the time is somebody will start experiencing mental health symptoms. So for me, my mental health issues all started with depression and anxiety. So very common diagnoses that are given out pretty regularly, and a lot of people struggle with them, and they're valid in itself. And also, definitely, I have BPD, and I can see, so can family members and other people can strongly see that BPD was present from honestly when I was probably I would say like under the age of 10. But with bipolar, for instance, I did not start experiencing symptoms of hypomania. So I was getting depression. And when I was about 14, when I was about 12, started getting quite bad depression. So it really just started off as that depression and anxiety part. And it wasn't until I was about 14 that I started experiencing bits of hypomania. This kind of generally progresses like over time, whether it be a year or 2 years or longer. People don't just wake up with sudden, like, psychotic disorders. I mean, maybe there are some people, I don't know. Personally, I don't actually know anyone who that's happened to. But I think in the media, people often, like in movies and stuff, it's like someone wakes up and they're just a complete different person. And you're the person who's actually living with these disorders, especially when it includes symptoms such as delusions or, like psychosis in general, you probably don't have good self-awareness because these disorders are very sneaky and they cause you to have you're not able to have any self-awareness of what's actually going on. Because if you're believing a delusion, you think that that's true. So obviously you're not going to think anything's up. You're going to think it's normal. If you're experiencing certain hallucinations even that goes with the delusion, again, people might think, well, wouldn't you think that's strange? That's not normal. But you may not even think that. And I know it's quite hard for people to understand, but I've had manic episodes where I have been like, and I even still am like, no, I swear that was real. And other people are like, no, it wasn't. I was like, but I literally heard it. I saw it. It was there. Trust me. And they're like, no, it's not. Like, it's your brain. And you just don't, I don't know how to explain it, but you just don't think there's anything wrong. You just think, oh, I'm just having a really good day, when it's actually been like 2 weeks. Oh, I'm just having a really good week. Oh, maybe this is just like my normal kind of like baseline. It's not my baseline. But I don't know that in that time. I can know it now when I'm not in an episode, but when I'm in an episode, that doesn't occur to me. Like the thought just doesn't even occur. And so I think that's why a lot of the time people get wrongly diagnosed, is because people aren't going to generally present when they're manic. You present to doctors or health professionals when you're depressed. And so they'll give you antidepressants. They'll be like, oh, okay, you have depression. This is what happened to me. I thought I had depression. But then what started happening, eventually I went to a different doctor who was a lot better, who I had seen before. And he gave me antidepressants and at that point I considered taking them, and I was like, okay, I'll take them. I was terrified. And unfortunately, well, I thought they were working because I suddenly started feeling amazing. This is a big indicator that there's something wrong, because generally antidepressants do not work overnight. And people may say maybe it was placebo, maybe it was just your brain thinking they were working because you knew that they were supposed to make you feel better. But no, they made me extremely hypomanic. I have a whole story on how I was diagnosed and everything on my channel, but my symptoms have become a lot worse as I've gotten older. But I think that's just because generally the height of the diagnosis is in your early 20s when it comes to things that are like this. My tips for when you are looking into getting diagnosed, and I'm always telling people this because if I knew this stuff, it would have helped me a lot and it would have saved a lot of time. Number one, you need to keep a mood diary. It doesn't matter what you think you have. If you think you have bipolar specifically, this is going to save you a lot of time. Every day for a few months when I was first getting diagnosed with bipolar, I kept a mood diary every day for months, and it would show that I was having periods of depression, periods of hypomania, periods of depression, periods of hypomania. I wasn't on medication, and it was quite bad. It was very frequent. I was just constantly getting episodes back to back. And figure out what your baseline is. How do you feel on a general basis? How do people who live with you or who are really close to you, what is their opinion? Who I say is always, if you can, get a second or third opinion. When you're getting diagnosed with something that's so lifelong, requires medication for the rest of your life, that really just comes with a lot of stigma. You can be wrongly diagnosed because of those reasons. Like I said, nothing worse than being wrongly diagnosed with something and it doesn't fit. And I know a lot of people have to take years and years and years, and they've been through so many things, and unnecessary treatments or medications or stigma, discrimination when they were diagnosed with the wrong thing. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please leave a comment down below if you're diagnosed with anything like this, what your experiences have been. I love to chat with you guys. Check out my social medias and my link tree, which is down below. Also have a business, Care Boxes by Alana, and I'll see you in my next one.